don't be too scared. Don't be too ashamed. Don't be too proud to just seek guidance.
Hey, folks, we are getting right into it. I have with me Jamie Robinson, another Brit on the show. So this would be, I think, 3, maybe 4 of folks from across the pond on the show today, another mechanic. We're just going to get to it. So, Jamie, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Let's get into it. What was it? What was your first year like? What was that? What was that thing that got you into becoming a mechanic?
Oh, the first year was horrific. If I'm not going to mess around with that. I got into it, family ties. I come from my dad's a mechanic, my granddad's a mechanic, my great granddad was a mechanic. So naturally, that's the route I took. First year, my apprenticeship I hated every second of it. Like, without messing around, I hated every second of it. I was miserable. I wanted to quit. And my dad was like, no, just stick it out. Stick it out.
Say what you really feel. Just make sure that you say exactly how you Wow. Okay.
It was awful. My first year was awful. I worked in a small garage in a village in Essex, and in like about 50 miles from London. And it was a one-man band. And yeah, there was no room for errors. As a 16-year-old apprentice, I rounded a bolt on a van and the bathroom got smashed up because of it. It was bad. It was bad. So I actually left the actual garage side of things. I went to a tire shop, and I kind of reset and start. Yeah, that was the first year. It was interesting.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that have, whether they have a fraction or a large portion of their first year, their entry into the industry, have it something similar. Because I know, a lot of mechanics, a lot of more specifically apprentices, complain about the conditions, the hazing, and the paying your dues work, as it were, that they complain about. I had that too. I did not have that, but I had, we shoveled shit. Right? I cleaned out grates, and I literally picked up shit because the owner's dog and, their friends would come by and literally have a dog party out back in the park that was behind the shop. And I'd have to go, because it was a stupid poop and they didn't want to get fined for it because they lived close by. I had to go and literally pick up dog poop as an apprentice at a dealership. So these are the things that, like, we paid our dues.
Yes.
Well, one of the things that, now, there are levels of hazing, there are levels of paying your dues. And I think one of the things that we need to make sure that we're clear on is that the emotional trauma that occurs at a certain point.
Yes.
Paying your dues and understanding that they're trying to teach you how to work and trying to figure out whether you're responsible and figure out whether you will follow the instruction to a certain point, irrespective of what it is. There's a level of that. But the next level of that is, that's too much. And we have to quantify that.
Between, as well, is the character building and bullying. There is a fine line. And finding that line is an art form, I think.
We want people to come into this trade and understand that we're trying to build a team. And if a certain level, and Marshall Sheldon said this last on kind of an outro, because we're things we're going to do with a 10 mil after party in the coming weeks, talking about getting people to understand what it's really like inside the shop, technician to technician. That culture is going to be different than the outside world. How we treat each other in the shop is not how we will treat each other out in the wild, but nobody really understands it.
Yeah, it's a different mentality. A lot of my best friends I've met through the motor trade. The way we talk to each other, everyone around us assumes we hate each other. That's just how it is in the workshop. But then I found, going back to the apprentices, is you can't involve them in that instantly. You can't. You need to nurture them into it. And I'm a big advocate for apprenticeships. I had one point, I was a mentor for 5 apprentices at once, where I was just building this little team, and they are my pride and joy. A lot of my greatest success in my career has been my apprentices. It's just trying to nurture them and cuddle them and look after them. But then they're seeing how we talk to each other, and they're like, oh, we're a bit scared of this. And it's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to be fine. It's normal. This is how we talk to each other.
It's really interesting you bring that up because the last probably year and a half, I've been really trying to figure out where to take the show and what to focus on more and more, and the things that I believe after having conversations with people like yourself, where those things are taking us and the areas where we're missing the most. And I've now said it probably a dozen times, and I'm digging down deeper into it. And it's that shop foreman mentality, and more specifically, it's the father in the shop that we're missing. And it's interesting how many folks, it sounds like even yourself, are getting into this position where when you get yourself into a fatherhood position inside a shop, you feel like you can accelerate your career. It feels like you're learning so much more. You're so much more content with what you're doing every day. It feels more fulfilling, more purposeful.
Yeah.
It's interesting how as soon as you had this insanely awesome, I mean, horrible first year as an apprentice, which transitioned you into something as a tenured, experienced technician where you wanted to ensure that the people coming into the trade, those young people coming into the trade, have a good experience, that they learn, that they're cared for, that they can grow in this trade so
Yeah.
that they can be the best versions of themselves in this business. It's amazing how yes, I love to hear it.
We had, I had a couple of young guys who came to work for us, and they come from broken homes. They had no like real father figure in their lives and anything else. And I'm not trying to be that, but I'm also like, okay, I need to take that into consideration. And these, I say kids, these are men now. These are 23, 24 years old. They've got children of their own. And they call me like, oh, my daughter's done this for the first time. And oh, my daughter's doing this. And they still call me for advice. And again, I love that because again, I didn't have that as an apprentice. As an
Mhm.
apprentice, I turned up to work like head down, like, I don't want to be here. I'm scared to make a mistake. I'm scared to ask a question. And then that's where more mistakes happened. So, maybe it went a bit too far, but because I've had them call me and ask for help on very, very personal issues. And I'm like, that's beyond my remit, but okay. Yeah. So the fact they've been able to ask me and come to me still is, for me, one of my biggest accomplishments is that drive they've had, that trust in me that they've had is perfect.
It I think it shows that, we were literally talking about this on Service Drive Live this morning. We're talking about building that alignment between technician and manager, but in this circumstance, you're talking about the building the confidence and trust and alignment between a technician and foreman and technician and shop leader. And to have people, especially young people, feel they trust you enough to not only share those perhaps very personal, intimate moments of vulnerability with you, but ask you for help. Not just share it, but ask you for help. That's gigantic.
It's
And
huge.
the reason why it's gigantic, and this is something that people don't necessarily understand at scale, is that you don't earn trust by helping people. You earn trust by asking for help. It's the other way around. So when that apprentice asks you for help, you are earning their trust. It's an insane thing to think, but not until they start asking for help do you start to earn. So it's anyway. It's cool. Let's dig into this a little bit more. So that first year was awful. Your generational mechanic getting into mechanics, and it was awful. You theoretically, in your mind, you took a step down to just go to a tire shop.
Yeah.
So that's a long time ago.
Yeah. That was a very
So
long time ago.
so let's maybe pick out some things here. What happened between then and now? Let's maybe say 3 points. What are the
Okay.
3
So,
points that happened between then and now that made you, because this is the thing that flagged me. I saw Olympic mechanic champion or something like silver medal Olympic champion for Hyundai globally, right? Did I
yes.
read that correct?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell
So,
me what happened to get to that.
so I fitted tires for a few years. I was very good at it. And then I had one customer say one line to me, and I'm not going to repeat the line because it will give away the company that I worked for, and it's not great. But they made a comment to me, and it hit me hard. Basically saying how I lacked skill because I worked for this company. So that for me was like, okay, I don't like this. I need to aim higher. I don't like people looking down on me because of the company I work for. Come on, it's probably one of the best companies I have worked for. They looked after me so well. They were a great company, but the stigma around it was quite bad. So I got into the main dealers at 23 years old, maybe, and just pushed. And like you said, the father figures, I found a father figure in my workshop, and I'm still really good friends with him now. He knows my children. Um, and I just stuck with him. I was like, teach me how to rebuild a gearbox, teach me how to rebuild an engine, teach me how to shim something, like show me. And yeah, from there, I just carried on, went to training, went as many training courses as I could. Noticed a lot of people struggled with electrics, CAN bus systems, and high voltage vehicles. So that was like, okay, that's where I'm going to put all of my energy. That's that's going to be my niche. That's going to be my area. And
As
then
we've said thousands of times, find the jobs that no one else wants to do. Get training on it, get
absolutely,
educated on it, and double down on it.
at one point, I started doing it with transmissions because there was a recall out where we were replacing synchros and synchro hubs in a 6-speed manual gearbox. I wanted to do it. Cool, I'll do it. And I was doing 5 or 6 of them a week. You know, I got them down to about 6 hours. Box out, strip it down, rebuild it, put it together, throw it back in. Done. Went into electrics. And then, yeah, a good friend of mine at the training academy was like, you need to enter the UK Skills Olympics. You know, set the exam. If you get top 12 score, you're in. Okay, I'll give it a try. What have I got to lose? Done that. Second, I was like, okay, that was quite a pride moment. A good friend of mine came first. I was like, okay. The next year I entered it, which would have been 2025. Then I won it that year, which was a big shock for me. So I was
Mm-hmm.
crowned a trophy up there where I was crowned the #1 technician in the United Kingdom. So coming from my first year of the apprenticeship and then going to be a tyre fitter to, 10 years later, having that, I was like, wow, okay. With that, they were like, right, we want you to go to Korea and represent the United Kingdom at Hyundai in Seoul. So yeah, October I was in Seoul and competed at a global skills Olympics and placed second in the world.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I
that's
that's I don't think there's going to be people who watch this who have never been a technician because they're trying to learn, and I'm really appreciative of you folks who have never been a technician who are watching the show to try and learn what it's like to be a technician, what it's like to get into our psyche and how we communicate and what we do and what our needs are. And I really appreciate you. But to what I think you to truly need to understand something is in what is effectively a short period of time, because Jamie is not old. Okay, Jamie is not 60, 65, been a technician for like 50 years, right? We're talking like, if I remember rightly, it's about 15 years from start to now, give or take.
yeah. I left being a tyre fitter 10 years ago.
So 10 years ago, after like the worst entry into the business you can have was a tire fitter, like Express Tires. And today is a silver medalist globally for all of Hyundai as a technician. The amount of energy, effort, drive, skill, education, and desire to get there requires an unbelievable amount of energy. Think about the tree of all the technicians in your purview, okay, ladies and gentlemen. Think about all the technicians. How many, because we use the phrase A tech and B tech all the time. We now have the tree that includes F techs that we should never have work on vehicles at all because they're unsafe, they're greedy, all of the things. How tippy top is this individual? So please listen to all the little tidbits he said. Finding mentors, learning, finding the jobs and doing the jobs nobody else wants to do and getting all the training to do them well. Putting himself forward in a place where it makes him incredibly uncomfortable, aka skills competitions, to prove to himself that he can actually compete. That level of courage, not only to put himself in that position, but to then go, okay, I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this to help the industry. What can I do to make it better? And then passing, and at the shops he's at, passing it along to the young apprentices to help them be better and earning their trust so much that they're sharing their private life with him. That's how vital that role in the shop is. Awesome. Okay. So some people would immediately ask, what is it they tested you on at these competitions? I don't care. I genuinely don't care because it's going to be stuff that is so far above my intellect capability in terms of diagnostics. It's going to go right over my head and it's going to be useless. And it's probably going to go over 99.9% of technicians who are not at your level of diagnostics anyway. So what I want to know is what are the things that you practiced that has nothing to do with being a technician that helped you get a silver medal at those Olympics in Seoul?
Honestly, it was just slowing down. Slowing down. I just practiced being slow. You in the assessment, you had 40 minutes to diagnose 3 faults. So you had 12 minutes per fault to diagnose. So it's not a lot of time. But it was the being slow. Let's look at the information. Let's take it back to basics. What's working, what's not working. It was that sort of mentality that I really had to try and focus on, because it was too easy to just jump in and everyone knows what it's like in the motor trade. You see something, you jump in, you go test this, that, put a £200 module, £500 module, and it was a fuse. It was practicing and really locking in on preventing anything like that happening. Just being as basic and simple as possible.
Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. I've been saying it forever. The moment I heard that the first time that that's how the SEAL Team 6 trains everything across the board in the highest of high pressure situations when people's lives are on the line, that is the mentality to use. And when we talk about the flat rate mentality is how do we safely essentially cut corners to get to a more productive end? 12 minutes to diagnose something. 12. We have technicians on forums. We have technicians in businesses that I've now talked to. We talked about it on Service Drive Live. Technicians complaining about only getting an hour to diagnose something. 12 minutes. 12 minutes. And his suggestion is to go slow. Top 2 globally says slow down. Please take that with a grain of salt because that is going to be something that you can use tomorrow. Okay. I'm worked up here now because that's 4 years. It's interesting because I've got like 200 plus episodes. I think you are technically guest like 104, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. And it's awesome to start seeing some of these small tidbits kind of make circles because I heard them kind of the first time around. And then there's a little bit of goop in the middle where, I think I had some technicians and some leaders on the show that I think I was a little desperate to try and just get people on the show versus trying to really look for proper character, proper leaders, people who represent some of the things that I really want to showcase. And it's coming back to the base principles. And I love it. I appreciate it. And now I'm finding folks like yourself who not only live it every day, but putting it into practice, that execution point. So thank you very much for doing that. So to the next point, okay, you're there. That's awesome. When you get into the shop, how do you teach that to those apprentices?
So where I am, or where I was currently, is I've actually just over a week and a half ago left the workshop. I now work for an OEM brand as a technical service engineer and technical specialist. Because we'll go back into that later. So my main thing where I was working with my younger technicians, so they're past apprenticeship, but they're still 19, 20 years old, just getting into diagnostics. It was, okay, we've got a car with a fault. Awesome. What's the fault code? Let's do that. Get your DTC. Let's go to the computer. What do you mean go to the computer? Let's go to the computer. Let's get your wiring diagram. Let's get your connector locations. Let's spend time planning what we're going to test, what we're going to do. Then if we do all this, we're going to spend 5 minutes at the car and you'll diagnose it. I promise you. But you need to know where you're going. And that's what I started doing. Was every time we had anything diagnostic, so right, go to the computer, get as much information as you can before you attack the car. You've got to have a methodical plan. It was, I've got a circuit high fault code. Okay, cool. What does a circuit high fault code mean? Like, you need to understand what it's telling you. Is it a circuit high is an open circuit? Okay, cool. Now we know more what we're looking for. Now we know what tests to do. Now I know if I do a volt drop test, that's going to show me where the fault is. So it was teaching them that back end information you need to use to have a methodical approach instead of just throwing pins and seeing what happens.
Okay, so we need to take this back and dissect this a little bit. So one of the two, maybe three of the coaching technicians that I did a couple years ago had something similar come up in conversation, and I want to break and hide down and highlight something very specific here. You can say the cliches, ladies and gentlemen. If you fail to plan, you're gonna fail. Period. End of chat. Right? What's the one thing that you guys don't have? Time. What do you guys spend the most time wasting? Time. What's the one thing that Jamie has just told you to do to help you be better? Save the trips to the car. Get your information, get your wiring diagram, get your diagnostic tree, go through it, find where the locations are, find the tools that you need, find the wiring diagrams and the junction boxes that you need to get to, figure out your plan of attack of what you're going to test, how you're going to test it, and with what tools. So that you go to the car once. Break that down further. Remember how I've been saying for the last 4 years that every 4 steps is 5 seconds? So that concept of every time you look at the computer and then walk to the car to test something and then go back to the computer and then walk to the car to test something and go walk back to the computer. Every time you do that, that's usually about usually about 8 steps, maybe a little bit more. So that's 10 seconds every time you do that. I realize it's only 10 seconds. But when you do it for a diagnostic tree with 6 things in it, that's a minute. You do it with 12 steps, that's 2 minutes. That's 33% of your point one. And he just said that he came second place in the Olympics competition for Hyundai and diagnosed things in 12 minutes. You've just wasted 2 minutes in 12 steps. He's helped you tomorrow by saying, get all your ducks in a row before you ever touch the car, right? Awesome. Next.
That was a key thing. So one of the traders at Hyundai UK, really smart man, CAN bus wizard, absolute wizard. And it was something I owe massively to him, where you can give him a CAN bus fault and you can just show him an oscilloscope pattern, and you say to him, look, this is C CAN. They go, that's your CAN high, that's your CAN low. He'll have that pretty much diagnosed before he even touches the car. He'll look at it and go, okay, cool. I know I've got an open circuit in the sub layer on CAN high. So and he'll look at the DTCs and go, I've got that not working. Okay, I'm going to that wire. And he knows there's a 90% probability of he's got an open circuit in this wire, this location, before he even goes to the car. And I was like, I watched him do it one day and I was like, that's what I aspire. That's what I aspire to be. I want to pretty much diagnose a wiring fault before I get to the car. Just by looking like, that's my live data, that's my wiring diagram, this is what I know. Okay, cool. I've got a common live here and here. That's where I'm looking.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my inspiration. That's where I just got the point where I was like, no, I'm going to get my car, I'm going to sit at the computer, I'm going to print off my wiring diagrams. I've got my highlighters here. I highlight the wires that I know are okay. Like, that's working. That's a shared live. Okay, cool. That's fine. Wicked. And I sit there colouring it in. And everyone looks at me like, what are you doing? This is so weird. Why have you got highlighters? Why have you got a whiteboard? Because it helps me.
It's those little things. So every time I talk to a very intelligent technician who's really good, either diagnostics or communication or both, they've found ways and means of coping with difficult situations and found ways and means to make it clear as to what they're going to do and what they're going to do next. So when you highlight things like, and I mean that literally and figuratively, when you highlight things like having a highlighter and a printed wiring diagram so that you can run through it, not necessarily on the digital side, because we have so many digital wiring diagrams now. I know when you roll the mouse over it, sometimes the wire highlights depending on what brand you work for and some of the OEMs and stuff like that. But when you move the mouse, it no longer highlighted. When you print the thing or you draw the thing first, you know exactly, okay, I've highlighted, I've made my note, so on and so forth. I know what I've done, how I've done. So when you go back to the computer and you either talk to text, like I keep suggesting, for those of you who don't have the tools and the software that do voice to text for your work orders, or have the extra typing programs that do the extra typing for you, where you can just click buttons and it types things for you. For those of you who don't, that I've been suggesting, just use the Google Documents voice to text portion. You can go to the thing that you've scribbled on and go, I did this and this and this and this on this wiring diagram and this. And this is the circuit, and this is the junction point, and this is where I tested, because it's literally written on the page in your notes. And the flip side is you also said you use a whiteboard. Same deal. You made the notes, the things, and you can erase it and move on. So you're not killing trees. It's those little pieces that I've been trying to get people on the show who do it, because I've seen so many of them do it, get them on the show. It works.
The
Journaling,
other thing as
note
well, it
taking,
helps with warranty
communication.
time. It helps with warranty times because I can write down every test I've done. And then when it comes to my warranty write up, I've got all of this information to back up why it's taken me 4 hours to strip this car down, find this open circuit inside the dash.
Mhm.
I've got every test, and then I get paid more warranty time.
And when you can be detailed, so let's strip this again. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Technicians who don't like to type or write or even dictate, because some of them don't even like to do the voice to text. I understand that there's a level of detail that warranty wants and a level of detail that the customer wants. So, especially if you're doing warranty, make the auditor's eyes bleed. If you could use that as your definition of how much description you need to have in your stories, make an auditor's eyes bleed, because their eyes bleed, they're going to start skating over your stuff and just pay it. Chargebacks are never is going to be a thing of the past if you make their eyes bleed that level of detail. The flip side is if you need to have that level of detail, say it's a 4-hour diagnostic that you need to go through and A, get paid for, and B, be very diligent in the things that you've tested. Also learn how to communicate to the advisor so the advisor can go, oh, yeah, okay, Mr. Smith, we worked on your Skoda today, and there are 4 pages of notes from the things that we've diagnostically tested, pulled apart, ripped apart, and then repaired. That's a book I don't expect you to read. However, I've had a conversation with a technician, and here is point A, here is point B, here is point C that he's communicated to me to be able to highlight to you the basics of what we did. If you can learn to do both, if you can make the auditor's eyes bleed, but also educate the advisor on exactly what you did in a simple way, you are going to make more money than you know what to do with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's that knowing who you're talking to. Warranty, I've always said to my younger guys, and even some of the guys older than me, is put in as much information as possible. Whether you think it's valid or not, put it in there. Wiring diagrams, like wiring numbers, connector numbers, pin locations. If you've used a pin tension gauge, what gauge was it? Everything. Write a story. I've always done it as in, I'm going to tell you everything as if I'm telling you how to do the job I've just done. And if I've tested capacitance, I'm putting that in there. If I've tested resistance, if a volt drop, everything. But like I say, if you've got to go speak to a service advisor, it's having the capabilities and the understanding of how do I politely dumb this down to
Mhm,
a level someone's not technically minded, where
mhm,
it's gone from 15 pages to say I've got an open circuit to that wire there's broken. Yeah, it's a balance. It's a tough
mhm.
balance.
So let's go to the next step. You had a very awful introduction into the industry. And I want to, it's kind of taking it back to the beginning here just a little bit because I just was just thinking about this. It sounds like that really horrible introduction to the industry gave you the mental fortitude at this point in your career to be able to overcome challenges that others may not have been able to do. What do you think is one thing that you have taken that you took from that first awful year that you're now flipping outside of making sure that the apprentices are taken care of? What's one thing that you use from that?
It honestly, it was just the feeling of this isn't right for me. The feeling that I wasn't good enough to be in this trade. It was like I never want to feel like that again. I wanted to do it. I wanted the motor vehicles, cars, bikes have always been my passion. So I knew it's where I wanted to be, but I hated the feeling of not feeling good enough. And then I actually applied for a dealership role shortly after, but the bloke I worked with had it in his business and went and worked at this dealership. It was a French brand dealership. And their response was, we know all about you. We don't want to hire you. And then I found out that my old boss worked there. And again, it was that pit in the stomach, that horrible feeling. And it sounds really negative, but that's what I took with me. I was like, I don't want to feel like that again. I am going
Mm.
to show that person who thought I wasn't worth the time, wasn't worth coaching, wasn't worth the patience, and I'm going to surpass them and be at a point where they wish they employed me 10 years ago. And yeah, that's what I took from it.
So I wanna talk about that a little bit, and I might put you on the spot here a little bit because one of the things there that we need to be careful about, and it sounds like you've utilized that to your advantage, but there's going to be folks out there who don't use it to their advantage, and it's to their
Yes.
detriment.
Yes.
So one of the things, and I bring up, this is why it's so important to me that we bring fathers and foremen back into the shop. is that we don't want our young people to be seeking validation. And it's a challenge because you can use that as fuel as long as it doesn't become everything you are.
Absolutely.
So to your point, you've used this someone telling you that you're worthless, or you have no right, or you suck, or all of those things where you then feel like you need to prove yourself.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to ensure that the audience understands, that all of you understand, including you, Jamie, is that you are enough. You only need to challenge you. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone else. It's you versus you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And in my older years, that is definitely something I've come to accept. It was in my younger years that knocking my confidence, it was a real kind of, oh, hang on. It just didn't sit with me. Nice. When I was 17, 18 years old. And now in my older years, it's just, I know what I can do, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go to work, I'm going to finish work, and I'm going to come home and see my kids and my partner. It's, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Awesome. That makes me feel a little bit better because I have so many conversations with folks where insecurities, where traumas, where personal life affect work, and then cyclically work then starts affecting home if there is a home. And one of the challenges that happens is because of that spiral, we lose sight of things that give us purpose and meaning. And when we lose sight of the things that give us purpose and meaning, especially as men, we lose our way entirely. And I think it's starting to feel like that is where a lot of our biggest challenges lie. We have young men who are without purpose. We have a lot of older men as well that I've started to have a lot more discussions with. When we don't have purpose, it's like we're empty,
Yeah. We just freeze.
freeze. And it's interesting how two things can be true at the same time, is that a purpose from a literal standpoint, meaning what we do every day in terms of our professional life, which is why unfortunately a lot of men die shortly thereafter retiring, as they lose their day-to-day purpose. So that's a discussion for another time. But when we have purpose in our day, but we also need to have purpose, I think, elsewhere. And I think this is one of the things that's really bringing me back into faith more. That's why it's why King James is with me just about everywhere I go now, because it's bringing more purpose from a 30,000-foot view, not just from my day to day. And thinking about it prospectively for your career and understanding how difficult your entry was and how different it is now and how purposeful you are looking forward and how obvious how that pathway of purposeful that you took from you're not good enough to now look at me now, which is not a attention thing. It's more of a how good can I get? How great can I be? That purpose has now driven you to the next level where you spent a decade in the shop getting so awesome at being a diagnostic technician that it's now given you opportunities at a much larger scale so you can affect more people in a positive way. And it's that purpose. And one of the reasons, like, this is not yet done, but persistence, one of the phrases I use and use frequently is persistence and desire backed by faith. So it's the faith in yourself, the persistence of your purpose every day, and a desire to do better over and over again, leading people, being purposeful about how you lead people, being purposeful about how you lead your life and how you lead yourself really commands how your day-to-day profession also works, which then drives how well you do at home. And if you're willing to share, how has that affected your personal life?
It has had negative and positive effects. Obviously, to get to the point I'm at, I've had to put in a lot of time. Um, I've, Work for me for a long time was everything. I was at work at 7 o'clock in the morning every day. I was at work till 6, half 6 every evening. I worked every weekend, for multiple reasons. One, because the jobs needed doing and dealerships wanted hours, laborious hours. I had 3 young children, so needed money. So that was a negative effect. Um, Positive effect, to be honest, it's just that get it done attitude I've always had. That persistence, like, right, we've got a problem, let's just fix it. let's just fix it. That's the positive it's always taken. Where my daughter's like, Dad, this is broken. Cool, let's go fix it. Me and you, let's go. Let's just go and do it. And then that's the bond that builds. My partner, the same. It's yeah, that almost that mentoring side of things that I've spent so much time doing with apprentices to then do that with my children when they're 2 years old, 3 years old. It's that bond that comes with that, which I think purely is down to what I've done in my working life.
Okay. So what you're saying for you is that how deeply passionate you are about creating repair and creating communication through your purpose day to day has driven how much and how intentful, purposeful you've made being connected and being present with your children has become.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. I think we need to share that message more because from both sides of that coin, working a lot can be detrimental in a lot of ways. I know myself have the same kind of conversation being a self-proclaimed workaholic. It took me away from being home or at least not being present when I'm at home. Until you start being purposeful in what you do both at work and at home because you can't just turn off. We talk about on a regular basis, it takes you 30 minutes to turn off before you get into the house. Like you spend that 30 minutes in the driveway before you come into the house. If it takes you that long to turn off before you get in the house, something else needs to change because that 30 minutes can be best spent with your children, your
Yeah.
wife, your partner, whoever, because that's time that they're never going to get. And realistically speaking, it's time that you're depriving yourself of your own family. So that be purposeful with the time you spend, irrespective of the area that you're talking about, whether it's professional or personal life. Be purposeful and be intentful with what you do. And I think that might lead great into the most important question is what's your one piece of advice to help a technician be happier, healthier, more productive?
Honestly, just look for someone. Just look for someone to guide you, to help you. And that might not necessarily be the smartest guy in the room. That might not be the master tech. But the best thing I did in my career was seek guidance. They've helped me personally in my personal life. They've helped me when I didn't know what to do with certain other things going on. They've helped me professionally. It's just that don't be too scared. Don't be too ashamed. Don't be too proud to just seek guidance.
Don't be too proud to seek guidance. That's a great line. That's a bar right there. Don't be too proud to seek guidance. That's like eloquently saying FAFO, but like that's I love that so much. I love that so much. So, folks, that's on that bombshell right there. I think that's a great way to end the show. And, folks, I really hope you enjoyed this episode with Jamie. I'm going to make sure that the links to find Jamie and ask him questions so that you can not be too prideful to ask questions is in the description below. I hope you subscribe. I hope you like. I hope you share the show. Please share it with mechanics or leaders that need to hear these messages, especially talking about being a purposeful and intentful person, both professionally and personally. And we're going to end the show like we always do with a quote. And I think, again, interestingly, I have to say this every time. I pull these quotes long time in advance of recording with an individual. And I didn't get a whole lot of time with Jamie before. We had a couple of bits of back and forth, but that's about it. And I pull these quotes based on what I think the conversation is going to be like and what we're going to talk about. And it was nothing that came about was what I expected. So Rumi says, let the beauty of what you love be what you do. And I can't think of a better quote based on today, period. So folks, thank you very much. Remember that negative pushes, positive pulls, and always clean your toys before you put